to say trips and visits and the other products, we can enter a cost centre here or a department ID, ledger code. This just refers to the banking side. If you want to put a reference number in there, it's completely up to the school if they wish to do that. So within the summary, we just pop in here. So parents' evening, May the 8th, start time at 4 o'clock until, say, 6 o'clock. And they can put in whatever information they wish here. It could be they say, please note, you must book by the 6th of May to secure a place. So just as an example, we can add some information there for the students and the parents. Now, obviously, you can choose a file and putting an attachment there. It may be just sort of some information as to where they need to go, or if it's going to be held in the actual class, or if it's going to be held in the main hall. It could be there might be a little newsletter about the parents' evening, or again, you can just add this in the summary. Checkout notes won't be needed for this product because there is no payment going through. Obviously, the payment gateway isn't used. It's just to confirm that booking. So that can actually be left blank. Now, they can also add a screen image just to make it look nice. It might be a picture of the teacher's class or just sort of a parents' evening stock image that they may have. Obviously, to do that, they just select the choose file and yes to confirm that file that they've selected from their computer. Again, a high-res image wouldn't really necessarily be used in this product. A high-res image is just a moving image. It can be added if they wish. The homepage highlight, obviously, will just highlight that homepage just to say parents' evening is taking place. So instead of them having to click into the parents' evening and then look at the date or look at the class they're looking for and then go in and book, it will actually be set as a homepage highlight under the title. So the title we have here is Parents' Evening, May the 8th. So it could be they want to put that as a homepage highlight. So when parents log in, it's the first thing they see. So they can just click straight into that and bypass, obviously, all the categories. Now, just for this one, what I am going to do is I'm just going to change this title and just put the teacher in there. So we're going to put Joe Blogs Zen class. So everyone knows that it's not just all classes for that parents' evening. This is just for the Zen class. So if I select the continue option and scroll down, here we have a calendar. So it's slightly different to the other modules. It works very similar to breakfast and after school clubs with calendar. So now we're going to go to the date that we want these bookings to occur. So if I select May 2020 and I select the 8th, which is here, if we just select 8 and we get a drop down. So this is where we would put in the start time, end time. So as we've said in the description, we're going to put the start time as 4 o'clock and the end time as 6 o'clock. Now the staff group is what we completed before we added the module. So if we go down to the staff group, we should see that group that we built, which is Sen Class JB. So now we know that Joe Blogs has access to see all of the bookings made. The duration, obviously this can be split. You can use it how you wish. So we have 5 minutes for each student and then a 5-minute interval before the next person can book. So for example, it will be someone can book it at say 4 o'clock and the next person can book at 4:10 and again 4:20, etc. It might be if you feel you need more time, you can do 10 minutes with a 5-minute interval. So if we go for that one, just to show you what that would look like. So we're going to give 10 minutes to each student. Now if I select save, now what will happen is all of these time slots have now saved. We can see that we've got these available. So if I scroll down, we can see we've got these time slots available to the students, and obviously the staff group remains the same. So it's only Joe Blogs that can see this, that's been booked. So the students are only booking for this class. They're not booking for all classes. We suggest that every teacher class is set up individually because you don't want, say, a class that may be in year 3 to be able to book a time slot for a completely different teacher in, say, year 5. So therefore we do all classes individually. So now we've set up Joe Blogs' class for him and we can save that information. Now what we would do if I save changes and go back slightly, if I scroll up, at the moment this can be viewed by everyone. which means that any of the students can book this at the moment. What we want to do is just allow the Zen class to book. So if I select can only be viewed by selected groups, I'm then presented with the drop down where I can scroll down the classes, and we should have a class here that says Zen class. Here we are. So if I select Zen class and save that information and select save changes. Now, if I go back and click return to administration area, we now have parents evening for May the 8th for Joe Blogs for Zen class. So if I click on this product and I select a view, oh no, I need to publish that. So if I select parents evening and go to the edit option, and we've got the title set up, we've got the audience group set up, so we know which students can see this. Now, if I scroll down to the bottom and we move to May, so we can see where all of these are. Now, we can either unpublish this for now, or we can publish it. So if I was to publish this, it's now available to the students or parents to see. What we can also do is we can preview. And if I scroll down and preview this as a parent would see it, we can see that we've got parents evening, we've got the summary here. So May the 8th start time. Please note you must book by 6th of May to secure a place. Now, if I scroll down, it gives me the instructions. So please select the time slots from the grid below to book appointments. Now, bear in mind, this is all embedded. So we don't need to enter any of this. This is already embedded in the parents evening module. So we didn't have to set up anything for this option to show. This just gives us some information. So as we can see, everything is currently available to book. Now, what I can do is I can go into this booking, so as a parent, and I can select I would like my child to be booked in for 5 o'clock. So if I click on the green time slot, I've now got a pop-up to confirm this time slot has been booked if I select OK. So now I can see that we've got a confirmed booking for myself for 5 o'clock, and this is ticked. So therefore, it's no longer available for anyone else to book. Now, if I want to add a comment, I could potentially add a comment. So it could be, I would like all reports for my child to be available on the time of our meeting, or if there's anything in particular they'd like to discuss, they can add a comment here. Now, obviously, only I can see this part. So if I was to log in as a different student, they would not be able to see this information. They will not be able to see who has booked this. They'll only be able to see that it is unavailable. So I'll take you through that in a second. But for, say, Joe Blogs' perspective, when they click in, they can obviously have a look at who's booked, and they can then print out. So they've got a list, a registration list to see who they have booked in for that time. So if I go back up, and I'm going to go back to the dashboard area. So now that's published. If I go back into parent evening bookings, I can see here this is published. It's available to class, Zen class. It's for the May the 8th for Joe Blogs. Now, what I can do, so for if I was, say, Joe Blogs or another administrator, I can click on this and I can check for the bookings. So here at the moment, we've got WisePay tech support booked in for, say, 5 till 10 past. So at this point, we can print this register. However, because it's still ongoing, we won't want to print it as yet. But it just allows the teacher to have a look at what people have booked so far. So if I go back, and I'm going to go to Dashboard Home, and I'm just going to go into Manage Account Profiles, and I'm just going to log in as one of the other Zen class pupils, just so that I can show you how that would look for them also. So if I log in here as Oliver, and I can see here we've got Parents Evening. So again, this is from the parent's perspective. So once a parent has logged in, they can select the Parents Evening option. And if I scroll down, I can see I've got Parents Evening for Joe Blogs, and I'll view the details here. I'll scroll down, and again, in the same way, I can see that 5 o'clock is no longer available, but I'm going to book, say, 5:15. So I select the time slot. This time slot has now been booked, so I can select OK. Now, again, here I can add a comment for myself, or I can just leave that as it is. Obviously, once they've made that booking, they don't need to do any more. So again, they can go back to home. They can obviously make any other bookings on any other modules. So if I go back to the dashboard, and I look, say, from the teacher's perspective, if I go back into the parent evening bookings and I scroll back down to the parents' evening, if I select bookings now, I'll be able to see that I've got 2 people booked in for the parents' evening. Now, what we also can do is within the communications hub, there is also a parents' evening itinerary. Now, it can be used. Now, if the school has purchased the communications hub, the full communications hub, there's also a tool within the communications hub in order them to email or to text out parent evening itinerary. So here, if I select parents evening, what that allows me to do is to send the information or the times that are available or the times that have been booked out to the parents as just a reminder. Parents evening is coming up on May the 8th. Please make sure you've booked your slot for your pupil. So there's also communications that can link into parents evening if the school wish to use this. Now, with the parents evening, just to reiterate that when any parents evening is being set up, they must always select manage audience groups firstly and select the staff groups and then link the staff to their class firstly. That is the main that's the main point. You cannot go from, say, creating that module, because when you get to that point, if I just show you as an example, in parents evening, if I was to add a new item, and I'm just going to scroll down just to show you what I would mean. Once we get to the calendar option, and if I select, say, the 30th of April, so here we've got the staff group, but if we haven't set up that staff group, then we can't link the date to the class that it should be. So therefore, if we were just to select parents evening, well, that could be all teachers. So therefore, all teachers could have access to this, and we do it via individual classes. So therefore, it is vital that the staff groups are set up previously before creating this product in order them to be able to select which teacher relates to the staff group. Now, if the school were doing multiples, what would actually work better is if the school went into manage audience groups and select staff groups, and here they would just create each staff member as they go along. So as an example, it could be that we have I don't know, a butterfly class as an example, and then add the teacher into here. So it could be that we've got, if I search here and we go down to, say, the one of the teachers, and we look at the staff members. So here it could be potentially that we've got the staff member here. So for example, Claire Smith is the teacher for butterflies. So we'd select yes to that profile, and Claire Smith is now added to the butterfly class. So again, we could then go back in. If I go back to the administration area, we could go back into staff groups and then add the second class. So if these are done at the beginning for each class, then it just means that when you're adding the parents evening module, you've got all the classes already set up. So this is why we recommend that actually all the staff groups are set up firstly before you actually add the product and then create the audience group for that product. Now, bear in mind, when creating audience groups, you wouldn't necessarily need to create an audience group because it should always be in their class years. So as an example, like we use for Joe Blogs, if I select the edit option and go to can only be viewed by selected groups, we have the class list already here. So therefore, we wouldn't necessarily need to add an audience group. The only time we'd need to add an audience group is if it's, say, a class with multiple students that are not always in that class. So for an example, where we have, say, secondaries, and it may be they're in year 7, it may be that the geography class isn't actually the tutor class. So therefore, there may be lots of different students that they need to add into, say, the geography audience group, but it'd still be that one teacher that can view it. So again, it could be where students are part of 2 or 3 classes, so therefore we would have to add them to 2 or 3 audience groups to enable them to see all 2 or 3 parents' evening bookings. So again, it's all around how you would set that up and how you would set the staff groups up firstly, and then looking at, okay, are all the students within that correct class? If they're not, then again, we can make an audience group and add an audience group here for that class if it's made up of multiple different classes. So that is the parents' evening booking, and this is how it's made, to be honest. Now, a lot of questions we do get around parents' evening is if they need to cancel the booking or they need to change the time slot. If I go into the user parent view and we go into parents' evening bookings, if I just go into, oh, that one's not actually available to us. So if I log in as a student that is available to, and we select the parents' evening. Now, obviously, Oliver's already made that booking. However, if they need to remove that booking, they just delete this appointment. So again, we can go in and delete the appointment and say the time slot's been deleted. Now, bearing in mind, they can go back in and say, actually, I want to book for 17:45. Okay, we've confirmed that. They've now actually booked that time slot. So again, if it's at the parents', oh no, I can't make that, they can then go in and they can remove that at any point and reallocate themselves a booking if there's one there. Obviously, if all the time slots have gone, then it will be that they will need to contact the school directly and ask if there's any leeway in that, or it may be that another time slot will need to be added for them, depending obviously on the circumstances. But with regards to the parents' evening bookings, as I say, it works very similar to the other modules. However, the managed audience groups are completed firstly before the product is added. So is there any questions around parents' evening at all?
No, that was fine, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, brilliant. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you through the breakfast and after school clubs because it's a very similar setup. If I just log out of here and log back in. So the breakfast and after school clubs, again, it's with a calendar, so it works in a very similar way. Obviously, it could be that breakfast and after school clubs is available to everyone within the school. It could be that there's only certain classes or certain year groups that have the breakfast and after school club. So therefore, the managed audience groups can be completed at the time of building the product. You don't have to add any staff groups to this at all. So we can go straight in and we can start creating that module. Obviously, with the breakfast and after school clubs, it's an ongoing thing. So it's not something that you would use. You wouldn't use a calendar for, say, a termly option. So where you would say, my child wants breakfast and after school clubs for the whole term and it's a fixed price of, say, £55. This is done on a day-by-day basis. So it could potentially be that parents log into the system. They say, right, I want my child to have breakfast club on Monday, Wednesday and Friday this week. And again, we do an after school club. So it could be that on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I want them to stay at school till 5 o'clock, for example. So it's on a day-to-day basis rather than sort of a termly or half-termly fixed price. So to show you how this would work, if I go into the breakfast and after school module here, and I'm going to add a new item. And again, like I say, it works very similar to, say, parents' evening in the other modules. So we're going to call this one breakfast club. And it may be worth just adding the time slots in there. So we could potentially put 7 till 8:30. Okay, and the quantity available per time slots, this will be per session. So for example, if we put 30 in there, that means 30 is, you can only have 30 per session. Now 1 per order is currently set to no. So obviously, really they should be entitled to be able to have more than 1 per order if they wish. Now bear in mind, if these parents are booking on behalf of, say, 2 siblings, they will need to go in and book each sibling in, because again, with breakfast club, it could be that there's food available or breakfast available to them. It may be that the school need to have or learn or know if there's any sort of medical conditions. So therefore, if the parents were going in and they were selecting both siblings into breakfast club, we would need them to do that individually so that we can have a look at any medical conditions or any food allergies, etc., that they may have. So it needs to be done on an individual basis. So again, we've got the breakfast club 7 till 8:30. We've got the quantity per time slot as 30 students can attend per session. Now the expiry date on this will be an ongoing thing. So there would never really be an expiry date for this. What I would suggest using is just using the 2030, because the breakfast club is never going to expire. And the way we set it up is we do Monday to Friday. We don't obviously add Saturdays and Sundays anyway, so the expiry date can be, say, 10 years down the line. Now, the one to look at is the time slot start date. So where can they book up until? So it may be that the school need to know a week in advance who's coming for the breakfast club. And maybe they need to know 24 hours in advance, or it may be that they can book right up until 7 o'clock on, say, tomorrow morning. So they could log in at, say, 6:58 and book at 7 o'clock, so within 2 minutes. Again, not a lot of schools will go for that because they're not going to know who's coming. It's, you know, they need to print the register each day. So to be honest, a lot of the schools will use sort of 30 minutes beforehand. So each morning, one of the admin staff, or it may be they want to do it for the week, but they will print out a registration sheet to see who's coming for the whole week, or if they want to do it daily, completely up to them. So we'll use 30 minutes before start date. So it just means that people can book up until 6:30 that morning. So if I select the continue option, and here again, we've just got a summary. So it could just be that we put something along the lines of breakfast club includes a breakfast wrap of choices, and it could be that you add in what choices there are, or it could be that you add in what activities are held within the breakfast club, etc. So you can add lots of different options in here. Obviously, checkout notes, you wouldn't necessarily need to use this. However, if you do wish to add anything into checkout notes at the time of payment, it will bring up some checkout notes. So it could just be, please remember to bring your child on time, or please remember to bring your child 10 minutes before the start of breakfast club. So that's where checkout notes could potentially be used. There's also attachments. So again, if you do have sort of a breakfast menu, or you have breakfast activities, and you've got a nice, like, sort of a little attachment to add to give them further information, you can add that here. Obviously, very similar to the parents' evening, there's a screen image. You can put a nice breakfast club image there. We can obviously supply you with a stock image if you wish, or you can have an image of something that you have within your school that you might want to take a picture and upload. Again, you can use a high-res image, a moving image if you wish. You can pop a homepage highlight on, so therefore the parents can see that as soon as they log in. So again, very similar to the parents' evening. Now, if I select continue and scroll down, we're now going to be shown a grid very similar to parents' evening. So if we want to start this, say, for example, if we start for May, and bear in mind, it might be that we start this on the 4th of May. Now, the only thing that we would suggest is if you do have half terms, we would actually only add the dates up until, say, the end of that term. I wouldn't personally recommend putting a whole year's worth of dates in, just for the fact that if you do have a close date or there's a situation, it could potentially mean that the school needs to close, and therefore you're then going to have to refund lots of parents. And I know a lot of people are going through that at the moment. So what we recommend is only to do sort of a term in advance. Now, when it comes near to the end of the term, just to set yourself a reminder and then add the next term date. It's fairly easy to do, and it can be done with just in a few clicks. So just to show you as an example, so say, for example, the half term is, say, Monday, the 4th of May. So therefore we would skip that and we would start on the 11th of May. Now, if I select the 11th of May, we then get a drop down. So the start time, as we said above, will be 7 o'clock. The end time will be 8:30 in the morning. And we've got the pricing options here. So here's when you would enter the price for how long that child's staying. So again, if we enter, say, £4 as an example. Now here it says this date only. So at the moment, we're only creating the time slot for the 11th of May. Now what we can do is we can select every weekday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we can select every day, so we can add all of these in bulk. And we can select that all the way up until wherever we wish. So as I said before, it's probably worth just doing, say, a term at a time. Just for training purposes, I will show you how we can select the rest of May. So if I go all the way up until, say, June the 1st, 2020, now if I save that, what should happen is every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, right up until the 1st of June next month, we should have time slots in here now. So if I select the save option, and I'm just going to go back up, here we can see we've got each day, we've got a time slot for 7 till 8:30 every day, right up until June. Now it could be that you want to go to June's calendar and click on Monday the 1st, and again put that start date in again. Now you could potentially do it all the way up until the end of July. It's completely up to you. However, just remember that any dates that you put in, if they're wrong, you have to go back and delete them one by one. So this is why they're very cautious not to add in a whole year's worth or a whole academic year's worth, just in case there are closed dates or something happens within the school. If there's a leak and the school has to close, then you have to refund all these students, and you have to obviously delete the bookings, which you have to do on a day-by-day basis. So therefore, it's always good to do a term at a time. So just to show you that again, I'm going to select 7 o'clock for the 1st of June, up until, say, 8:30. And we added the price in as £4. Now, bear in mind, the price can be changed at any point. The price can be changed if they decide actually they're going to add 10p to the price, then you can go in and edit and change the price at any point. So again, I'm going to select Monday to Friday, and I'm going to do this all the way up until July the 3rd. And if I select save, and here we have all the time slots. So once we've added the time slots, I'm just going to scroll back up. And as you can see here, we've got the audience group can be viewed by everyone, which, to be honest, 9 times out of 10, it will be everyone has the ability to book Breakfast Club. Now, if you do want to limit it to only certain year groups, then you can select can only be viewed by selected groups, and you can change the year group. So I'm just going to change this to 30 minutes as I didn't save the changes. Okay, now if I go back and scroll down, no, if I go return to administration area, just so that we can see the Breakfast Club is 7 to 8:30. It's currently available to everyone. It's currently unpublished. Now, if I select Breakfast Club and I select view, if I scroll down and select May, so as a parent's perspective, this is what the product will look like once it's been completed. So I can see here there's 30 spaces left, and I've got a space here. I can book a space here. It could be that I want to leave out Wednesday, Thursday, but I'll book Fridays. Now, as you can see from the drop down, I could potentially book 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces at the moment. But as we want the student to be able to complete this on an individual basis, so it could be they may have siblings at the school, so they select two places. Now, we don't really want the schools to be able to do this, just for the fact it'll be very confusing. Say, for example, if the siblings do have any food allergies, etc. And we need to know exactly who will be booking Breakfast Club. Now, if we would say, for example, to select 2, we would have that same student's name twice. We wouldn't have the sibling's name because it's being booked in the first student's account. So therefore, what I'm just going to do is if we go back and we go back into Breakfast Club and select the edit option, I'm just going to change this to yes, so 1 per order. If I save the changes and I scroll down and go to the preview option again, if I go back to May now, it should only allow me to select 1. So yes, so I've selected, for example, Monday, Wednesday and Friday for that week. And as you can see, it's totaling up here. It might be the next week that I want to select, say, Tuesday and Thursday. And again, I could potentially do the next week, or I could leave it at that and book sort of 2 weeks in advance. Again, it's completely up to the parent. So at this point, I can select the purchase, and all of the time slots will be added to my account, and I can proceed to the checkout. So obviously this is just a preview at the moment. We haven't actually published that. So if I go back one, what we're going to do is just publish that option, and we're going to log in as a parent just to see what that would look like. So if I return to the WisePay dashboard and I select user parent view. So here at the moment, I've got 33 meals apparently as well. We've got the breakfast club here that's already been added to our cart. So I'm just going to remove those. So once the parent logs in, we can select the school clubs. So if I select school clubs here, and we've got breakfast club 7 till 8:30. If I select view details, and we've currently got April's dates. If I scroll across to May, so very similar to the preview, I can go in and I can select the dates that I wish to book for. So if I select Monday to Friday, I'm going to purchase those. So we have all the dates in my basket, and I can proceed to checkout, enter my details and confirm the payment, make that payment for the breakfast club. Now, from a reporting perspective, if I go back to the dashboard area, and if we select the breakfast and after school clubs, if I click into the breakfast club, we can view the transactions here. So we can have a look to see what students have booked, have a look at the transactions, see what dates have been booked. Now, what we can also do is we can run a report for breakfast and after school clubs. So if I select the dashboard home, so once we have lots of bookings in, and again, as we said beforehand, it could be that the admin staff come in every morning and they select a printout for the day, or they could potentially select the printout for the week. So if we select the income manager, and just make sure that that's added, I'm just going to go in and add the breakfast and after school club report. So if I refresh, yeah, we've got it here. So the breakfast and after school club report. So we've added the report, and we've got 3 reports we can choose from. So we've either got the breakfast and after school club report with the student list and the payment breakdown, just to see how much has been paid, the students that are on that list. We've also got the breakfast and after school club just with the student list, so not the payment breakdown, just giving us a list of the students that have made the payment. And we also have the breakfast and after school club registration sheet. Now this is the one that is used most frequently. So if we were to select the breakfast and after school club sheet, we can go down, select the breakfast club 7 till 8:30. We can select the week or the date commencing. So again, it may be that we select April. We go for April the 13th, and sorry, not April the 13th. We go for May the 11th and generate that report. See, at the moment, we've got no one that's booked. If people were starting to book, we would have their full name here, the class, the sign-in time, sign-out time. So again, this can be used as a registration sheet. This can be printed out, can be handed to the breakfast club organizer, and they can actually get the students to sign in, or they can sign in on behalf of the students and put in the time that they signed in and the time that they signed out, and just have a little tick option to say, yep, they've attended. So it's an attendance sheet and a registration sheet, and that works really well. So you can also have the registration sheet, or it could potentially be that you need it for a transaction report. If I go back slightly and select the breakfast and after school clubs, the 2 here is mainly for transaction reports and just to see who is booked. The report 55 is based on the registration sheet and using it as an attendance sheet to mark who is there for the breakfast club. Now, a question that we're always asked around the breakfast and after school clubs is, what if the student doesn't turn up? Can we move them to another date? So at the moment, what we would suggest that the school do is that if the students didn't turn up or they're ill for that day, then potentially they can run the transaction sheet and they can give the students a refund. What we can't do at the moment is pick that student up from the date that they were in the breakfast club but didn't attend, and move them to the next date. But what we can do is refund the parent and ask the parent to log in and book a future date that they wish. Now we are looking into developing that, and just looking at if we can just sort of move students from one day to another, and then that rectifies on the registration sheet. However, at the moment it's something that's within development, but we do get asked that a lot. But we do have that facility to be able to refund a student, and then the parents can go back in and select the date that they wish for future reference. So that is the breakfast club module and how it's built. Like I say, it's very similar to the parents' evening. Again, if you wanted to do an after school club one, you would select a new item and do an after school club booking. It could potentially be that there are two parts of a breakfast club. Some of our schools use it in a slightly different way. So just to show you that as an example, it could be that we have breakfast club 7 till 8, and that's available for, say, 30 people. And what we could also do, so we would then select the time slot 7 till 8, and then we'd have a second session that starts at 8 till half 8. So therefore the price from the 8 till half 8 may be, say, £1.50, whereas the 7 till 8 maybe £2. So they can either select both settings. So they can either select 7 till 8 and the 8 till 8:30. Now, again, realistically, that's only if there's lots of different pricing options. So if there's a variable pricing option, then you would add 2 or 3 products. If it's just one overall price, so £4 for, say, 7 till half 8, brilliant, you can just add one product. If there's lots of different little products and payments, then you can split it into, say, 2. So just as an example, if I scroll down and select continue, what we're going to do is we're going to add a breakfast club. If we select April as an example, and I'll just show you for the next 3 days. If I select the 28th, and we're going to select 7 until 8 o'clock, and we're going to add that for £2. Now we're going to add that for this date only. So this date only, so we can leave that until January 2020, because that's not actually applicable. If I save that option, we have the option to do 7 till 8. Now what we can do is we can add another option down here for, say, 8 o'clock until 8:30, and we can add that in, say, £1.50, and select this date only and save that. So then there's 2 options. So it could be that the parents only want them to have the 8 till 8:30 option. It could be that they only want 7 till 8. So again, it could be that their friends go into school at 8 o'clock. So therefore they may only want to do 7 till 8, and then they walk out of breakfast club and maybe go and sit with their friends for half an hour until school starts. It can be quite a weird setup. However, we like to make it bespoke to fit the different schools. So therefore you can break it down. The only thing that I'd mention about this is we have 30 people available for breakfast club. Now what could potentially happen is we could actually end up with 60 people, because obviously this is the quantity available is showing us 30. So what we would actually do is we would change this and we would put 15. We would split it into 2. So we'd put 15 per time slot and save those changes. If I go back one and refresh. So then I can go into the 28th and I can edit this option. So at the moment we've got quantity available as 30. We can actually change that to 15. And again, we can go into here and we can change that to 15. So we know overall we would only ever have up to 30 students attending. So they can be changed. But again, if the school are looking to do something like this, we would want them to do it sort of maybe on a day-by-day basis, or set one up, have a look over it. Once they're happy with the first one, then go on and complete the rest for the whole term. Again, because you can easily select apply to every day and accidentally select 2030, you could build that time slot for the next 10 years. So when you're first completing it, what we can also do is if you email into WisePay or give us a quick call, or someone at the implementation team, or even someone in support, we can actually have a look over what you've built so far, and we can say, okay, yep, so we can see here you've got 2 sessions, 7 till 8, 8 till 8:30. Brilliant. You've added the quantity available to 15 for each, and we can see here that you've put 15 per time slot, so you can only actually ever have a maximum of 30. So we can see that's all correct. Yes. Now you can go in and select every day. So sometimes it's just that reassurance, because I know the first time that you build a product, it can be quite scary, just to have it sort of all added within, say, the next year or the next academic year. So hence why we say only do it per half term or per termly, because if there is a mistake, at least you can go back and you can delete each day, and it's not such a long process. Whereas if you've done it for the next 10 years, you'd be spending all day deleting it. In actual fact, we did have a school that had that scenario, and what we did is WisePay sort of jumped in, and we managed to speak to our technical team and get those removed in bulk for them. So obviously if that does occur, then please let us know. But obviously for the breakfast and after school club, this is the module. It works very similar to the parents' evening booking. If I go back to the administration area, obviously you can view all the transactions for all of the breakfast clubs that are available. If you're looking at one individual product within breakfast club, you can select the transaction, so we can just see the transactions for, say, 7 till 8:30. Costings obviously will take you straight to the banking area, the same as all of our other modules. And again, it might be that you're entering a manual payment. A manual payment would work fairly well within this instance. We've had the question a lot of times where parents would just drop their kids off to breakfast club, haven't made the payment, or they'll just hand the children cash and say, right, I need to drop you off at 7 o'clock this morning. Here's £4, go into the school, give them cash. That's absolutely fine. Obviously, we want to try and get the schools away from taking cash, which is why obviously we're a payment system, but we do have that manual payment option. So if that does happen, that does occur, an administrator can go in, select the manual payment option, select the breakfast club, select the student that relates to, and just add that manual payment and just pop in cash was paid. So again, it's all sort of links in. It's very similar to a lot of our other modules, just for the fact that it does have a calendar. So where trips and visits doesn't have a calendar, parents' evening and breakfast and after school clubs with calendar obviously does have that calendar option. So it is slightly different, but in the way that it's built, it's very, very similar. Is there any questions around the breakfast and after school clubs?
No, that's fine. Just one thing. What if the school asks that they've got lots of different combinations, different prices for an after school club, for example, or if it's a nursery? Have you got any schools like that? Do they set it up individually, or
yeah?
How many? What's the maximum you can have per calendar? Is it just 2?
No, you can have you can have as many as you wish. So the way they set it up is just individual products, similar to what we've done here. They would, so if it was an after school club, work in exactly the same way, but it could be they might have an after school club for football, or an after school club for something else. Now, if that's not a termly thing and they want to do it on a day-by-day basis, then it'd work in exactly the same way.
So let's just say that, for example, you've got a nursery, and they say that, not nursery, let's just say after the school club, and they say that we've got a session from 2:45 to 3:45 with a snack. There's one without a snack, 2:45 to 4:45 with a snack, without a snack. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of different variations, combinations. Would you set it up separately, or one product with different prices?
No, you would set it up separately, because what you can't do is, if you go into, say, a calendar as an example, if I go into this calendar, it would be easier if we could add them all, but because they're exactly the same time slots, you can't add the same time slot multiple times. So hence why we couldn't add. So we've got 7 till 8 and 8 till 8:30, but I couldn't go in here and edit 7 till 8 here, because it would just duplicate what we've already got and it would switch it out. So therefore, if the school were looking to do that, it would be to add each product, so it would be its own unique calendar. So as we've done here, there'd be after school club this time, after school club this time with snack, after school club this time without snack. So there's lots of different products.
And they can just copy it, right? They can just copy the whole.
Yeah, exactly.
And then make those changes, so it shouldn't take too long anyway. So
no, it shouldn't take too long. I think again, it's just reiterating that once they've, completed their first product and they're happy with it and they're like, yep, we're ready to go now. And maybe they even want us to cast an eye over it or someone else within the organisation. But once they're happy with that, then they can copy and create all the others. What they don't want to do is select the first one and don't really sort of look over what they've done and then copy those and publish them, because then if something goes wrong, it could potentially be a nightmare for them to fix.
No, fair enough. Yeah, no, that will make sense.
Awesome. Okay, that's cool. So with the breakfast and after school clubs and the parents' evening, like I say, it's similar. Is there anything else with those two or anything linked that you wanted to go through? Obviously, Forms Manager was another one.
We can do that on Thursday if you like, because you said that's a long one, isn't it? An hour.
Yeah, Forms Manager. I mean, to be fair, for the primary schools,
they don't really need it.
No, I mean, Forms Manager will use it as for parental consent on a trip. But what I'd like to take you through is not just, say, the Forms Manager looking at, say, the reporting side of Forms Manager, but actually looking at how you would build the Forms Manager and how we would add all of these columns and the funky things we can do to make them, say, required, and how we would use a drop down and a tick box option. So I'd like to take you through how we would build a form as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I've had a look as well myself, and I can see what it can do. But again, if we can record it step by step, and then I can make my notes. Yeah. So we can do that Thursday or something. And then definitely when we need to go through quick links and all the different reports and income manager, all that kind of stuff on another session, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. I mean, I don't know how you are for sort of time wise, as in over the next couple of weeks.
Whenever you're free, like even if you want to do like 3 or 4 sessions per week, I'm okay with that, as long as you're available.
Yeah.